Performax Labs is going more for like they're going more for the cardio and like the uplifting aminos here. And that's kind of their game if you think about it. Like even with their stimulant-based stuff, they're an uplifting company.
Welcome to PricePlow.
What's going on, PricePlow Nation, Performax Labs fans, and anyone else out there looking for a sports drink or a full spectrum essential amino acid beverage to drink during their workout? This is Mike Roberto, founder of PricePlow, and today we have a sponsored ingredient explainer talking about the Performax Labs EAmino Max Intra Workout Supplement. Now, normally when we talk about Performax Labs supplements, we like to get hyped. And that's because they have some hyped up supplements, pre-workouts, nootropics, all sorts of good stuff with some stimulants involved, including that Stim Max supplement. But not today. There's no stimulants in this one. Instead, we want you to perform to your max. That's right. Today, we're going to talk about a performance-related supplement. This isn't one of those stemmed up supplements. Now, this is one that's meant more for performance, more for the cardio crowd, more for like the endurance athlete, go get 'em kind of crowd. Because Performax Labs also has another supplement, and they're in the process of reformulating some of this, but they do have another supplement called IntraMax, and that's the one that's got the creatine, and it's got some of the muscle builders and the ergogenics for the gains. This one is more for keeping your muscles full, but not blowing you up or anything like that, giving you performance. And we have a few extra ingredients inside that I'm excited to talk about, and that's where we're gonna go with this. So I'm gonna break down this label, and you can always go to PricePlow.com/performax-labs to compare prices on it. And also, we have a blog post that we're going to be linking to this in the description below on YouTube so you can see all the citations and stuff we talk about. But with all that said, let's get this going now. Now, the one last thing I wanted to add before getting into the ingredients is that this is actually the first free-form amino acid supplement from Performax Labs. The IntraMax that I was talking about was originally a hydrolyzed whey protein, which has a full spectrum of amino acids, but they never actually had a branched-chain amino acid supplement. I think, and this is me speaking, not Performax Labs, I think that's because they are a science-based brand, and they were never fully up on the science behind BCAAs alone. They wanted to have a full spectrum amino acid supplement, and that's what we're gonna have here. So that's probably why they waited until now to have this. But I always found that interesting because they have a lot of good stuff. They have pre-workouts, they have nootropics, they have fat burners, all that stuff. And typically, you're going to come out with a branched-chain amino acid supplement, and they didn't. They waited until they had an EAmino Max here. So finally, we're going to get into the ingredients here. This is no 5-gram scoop of branched chains or any of that. This is actually a 15-gram scooper that you're going to have here. And we're going to start off with 6 grams of branched chain amino acids. So we have a 2-to-1-to-1 ratio, 3 grams of leucine, 1.5 of valine and isoleucine. And that's the standard pretty much ratio. But we have a little bit more of a metabolite of leucine coming up, and we're going to skip to that. I'm going to be jumping around this label a little bit. But in general, I think what we've kind of learned over the past few years is that, first off, yes, leucine, 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 leucine. I'll never say no to leucine. Well, you don't want to like totally overdose on it without other things, but I'm not going to say no to leucine. This is the most anabolic amino acid. You want the most of it, and we're getting 3 grams worth of it, plus the HICA that we're going to talk about next. After that, the branched-chain amino acids, the other two, just seem to kind of come along for the ride. And the science is showing that branched-chain amino acids, that like leucine alone, is kind of the carrier for all that. But the other two aren't going to do as much in terms of building muscle. In terms of building muscle, the full spectrum amino acids plus leucine, that's going to end up building a little bit more muscle. However, the branched-chain amino acids are always good for preventing muscle breakdown. If you can keep a little bit of the branched-chain amino acids in your bloodstream, in your small intestines, keep it coming, especially if you're doing fasted cardio, which I think this would be a good supplement to do if you're coming on the end of your fast. And Performax Labs have a lot of kind of supplements that I like with that. But anyway, if your body's got nothing to work with, it's going to tear them out of your own muscles, so give it a little bit of that. Branched chains are good for that. But in terms of actually building muscle, branched chains, on their own, branched chains, it's not enough. There are some other essential amino acids that help with the muscle protein synthesis, and they are essential. And we're going to talk about that. If your body doesn't have them, it cannot synthesize them. It needs to get them either through diet, preferably diet, of course, or supplementation. And that's where we could work with the timing, work on the fasted cardio, and have this. So anyway, branched chain amino acids, 6 grams is good, because a lot of these like solo BCA supplements are 5 grams and that's it. We're already better than that, but we need more, and we're gonna get more. So I'm bouncing around the label here a little bit. I've already mentioned HICA, and we might as well get right into it. So I'm jumping way to the bottom of the label here. Now, HICA is actually a leucine metabolite. A lot of people talk about leucine, and we just did that. We love it, anabolic, and it's great. When you take leucine, leucine is one of the two ketogenic amino acids, leucine and lysine. They're pro-ketogenic. They do not get converted to blood sugar. And so when you take leucine, it gets broken down and it takes two different pathways. One is the HMB pathway, and a lot of us know about HMB, and it's kind of a controversial supplement. It's kind of similar to like the branched chain amino acids in that it's going to help prevent muscle breakdown, but in terms of building muscle, we're not fully sold on that. And then the other pathway is the KIC pathway, K-I-C. And the KIC pathway converts things down to leucic acid. And leucic acid, otherwise known as HICA, has a little bit of decent research behind it, showing that it may be the anabolic metabolite that we've been looking for. Now, is it better than leucine itself? I'm not sure. This is along the ketogenic pathway. As we said, leucine is a ketogenic amino acid, and the ketogenic pathway is the HICA pathway, the KIC pathway. And with HICA being what I believe to be a ketogenic amino acid, I think that this is the one that's good for overall like cell and muscle health. We recently had a podcast where we were talking about ketones helping muscles to overall thrive, and anything that's going to help us produce some ketones, especially if you're dieting. And this is like what I think is going to be a great dieter's amino acid supplement. As we're going to start going with this, it's going to help the muscle cells thrive. So there's definitely some anti-catabolic properties with this, but this may also be slightly pro-anabolic on the anabolic side of leucine. Now, I'm not saying like if you take it all alone, it's going to be in there. You still need to have a proper diet and everything. But in terms of fasted training, when I'm looking at these types of supplements, I'm a huge fan of HICA. I think that with the ketogenic properties, if you're on a keto or a low carb diet, and you want a little bit of extra, leucine plus HICA seems like kind of like you're forcing your body into that ketogenic pathway a little bit more. And I've tested on myself that leucine alone does induce ketogenesis. It did help my body create ketones. And so I'm a huge fan of this combo. So in a way, we have 4.5 grams of either like leucine or leucine metabolite here, HICA, and we'll show some charts that show some of the studies up there. So pretty exciting stuff. Now, at the end of the day though, if your diet is absolutely perfect, do you need it? I'm not so sure, but I am a big fan of the HICA because of the ketogenic, because of the diet stuff. If you're a low carber, this is definitely an amino acid metabolite that you should look into. So while I'm bouncing around this label and I'm getting into the extra stuff instead of just the non-BCA EAAs, which are gonna come up next, I want to talk about the 2 grams of L-carnitine L-tartrate, also known as LCLT. Now, so this is L-carnitine, which is our fatty acid transporter. This is what gets fatty acids to the mitochondria. And the mitochondria are the powerhouse cells that do all the work to create ATP, which is our cell's energy currency. Our cells don't care about calories. They don't care about carbohydrate or protein. The cells themselves, they thrive on ATP. However, you need to get the fatty acids into the mitochondria for them to make that ATP, and the way you get the fatty acids to the mitochondria? With L-carnitine. So L-carnitine L-tartrate is, we have a 2 gram dose here by the way, if I didn't say that. So what L-carnitine L-tartrate is L-carnitine bound to tartaric acid. Good benefit of that is that it has some decent taste properties, which is helping the taste supplements. I'll be honest, we have gotten after Performax Labs for the taste of some of their supplements, and this one Matt and I reviewed, we liked it a lot. So if you're gonna go with L-carnitine supplement, the acetyl L-carnitine, which is good for brain focus and all that stuff, that one's not gonna taste as good, and it takes a lot of time to overpower some of that. L-carnitine L-tartrate though, we're seeing a lot of formulas like this one that do taste good. Anyway, back to the ingredient though. So 2 grams is the clinical dose. There was recently a new kind of a meta-analysis. It was a review of L-carnitine supplements, and L-carnitine is typically, and if you're a regular on this channel, you've heard me talk about this a lot because a lot of stuff has L-carnitine lately, and it's kind of having a resurgence. But anyway, 2 grams is always the dose in all these studies for whatever reason, and it always turns out to be beneficial for 3 people especially. Now, L-carnitine has been sold as a weight loss supplement, and that's sometimes true, but it's mostly true only if the person or the subject is carnitine deficient. And that comes down to vegans and vegetarians, the elderly, but also recovering athletes. Athletes recover far faster and far better if they have their L-carnitine stores. You have like a kind of a pool of L-carnitine. If you have your L-carnitine pool nice and filled, then you're gonna recover a little bit better. And so the people who are working hard, whether you're a dieter and you're kind of depleted, you're not like overabundantly eating, or you're just working out really hard and you're training hard, all that, then it's a great idea to take something with L-carnitine L-tartrate. Now, at the same token, some people may have a little bit of distress if they have way too much of this. Now, 2 grams, never had a problem with, ever, never. And I've taken 2 grams a day for, I like it a lot. However, I do need to say this because Performax Labs FitMax, which is their fat burning powder, which I also like, it also has 2 grams of this if you do the full 2 scoop dose. Now, at that point, you're getting 4 grams if you do that stack, and I'm not gonna guarantee that your stomach's gonna love you for that. So that's my one little disclaimer, is that Performax Labs has a stack here that might be a touch too much carnitine, but in general, if you're going to work out with this stuff, I think you're gonna train a little bit better and you're gonna recover a little bit better. And there's even been some interesting studies with L-carnitine L-tartrate at 2 grams where they showed that androgen receptor density increased as well. Now, I do need to disclaim that that study has never been replicated, and I'm not sure like what happened behind the scenes there, but a lot of the studies out there where we're realizing that it's actually the androgen receptors, more so than your testosterone levels, that makes a huge difference, unless you're just like slamming your body with testosterone. We're not kind of talking about that here on this channel. But it's the androgen receptor density that makes an important difference. There was a study that did show increased androgen receptor density with 2 grams a day of L-carnitine L-tartrate. So there might be some auxiliary benefits here, but really we're talking about the fatty acid transport, we're talking about the performance, and we're talking about the recovery here. And L-carnitine, I'll never say no to 2 grams a day, but beware, 4 grams a day might be a bit excessive. So if you're into the whole fat burning drink scene as well, like I am, FitMax and this, we might need to test that and see what happens. All right, so now it's time to jump back to the top of that label and let's get into the non-branched chain amino acid essential amino acids. Performax Labs has our minimum of 1 gram of these extra EAAs, and once again, these are essential to get in by diet or supplementation. If you don't have them and your body needs like a molecule of lysine to get something done and you don't have it around, it's shit out of luck. So we like to have this in our system, and this is where we're reducing the number of bottlenecks that your body may have biochemically. And that's what branched chain amino acid supplements alone can't do. So the first one, and I'm happy to see it first, is lysine. Once again, we have like a pro-ketogenic kind of supplement. I forgot to say with the carnitine, I might as well backtrack a little bit. I believe carnitine is good for keto dieters as well, because, or just high-fat, low-carb dieters. You don't need to be in ketosis necessarily, but for the high-fat, low-carb dieters, carnitine is good because we need that fatty acid transport. That fatty acid transport and breakdown is the name of the game in the low-carb, high-fat diet world. So same goes with lysine. Once again, we have a ketogenic amino acid. And what's awesome about this one is that it's highly involved with muscle protein synthesis. So for those who are looking to build muscle, you do want to look for high lysine foods. You want to look for a little bit of extra lysine in your supplements if possible. And the good news is it's also ketogenic. And so lysine and leucine are the only 2 that are purely ketogenic. They don't go and metabolize into glucose or any of that. Some of the other amino acids are, either fully into the glucose pathway, or they could do both actually. But leucine and lysine, purely ketogenic. This one's involved with muscle protein synthesis. Always good to see 300 milligrams here. So after the lysine comes 250 milligrams of phenylalanine, which is a cool amino acid because it is the precursor to tyrosine. And tyrosine is then used to produce more dopamine. Epinephrine, norepinephrine are like happy neurotransmitters that get you going a little bit. Now, I'm not saying that this is going to be stimulatory because it's not. There's not enough of that to really happen. We're talking down the chain, but that is the major pathway that phenylalanine produces, and it's a feel-good one. A lot of people who are just taking a regular branched chain amino acid are going to miss out on some of that extra stuff, and that's one of the things that we like about it. But we have 250 milligrams here, which is a pretty cool dose. One of the cool things is it's nice to see how these different companies shift things around, where they put like certain amino acids like this one or methionine. And so Performax Labs is going more for like they're going more for the cardio and like the uplifting aminos here, and that's kind of their game if you think about it. Like even with their stimulant-based stuff, they're an uplifting company, and so I'm not surprised to see this one come in second. So next up is, and this is third on our list of the non-BCA EAAs out of 6, is L-threonine at 200 milligrams. Now this is a cool amino acid because it is also involved in muscle protein synthesis. You can check our blog for the citation there, but once again, we're trying to prevent any bottlenecks. So if you need L-threonine, you got it here. Now it's also involved in the production of serine and glycine, and although glycine's kind of been ragged on our channel a lot because it was used back in like 2014, maybe still today, as an amino acid spiking agent, it is still beneficial. It's good to have this stuff, and it's good to have the precursor to be able to build it. We just didn't want it in our protein powder because it was being used to trick the protein tests in the protein powders. That's not what we're talking about here. Anyway, L-threonine helps to produce serine and glycine. We will gladly take all three. It helps with muscle protein synthesis. Because of that, we'll take it. Just didn't want that glycine in the protein powder, but we're happy to have it produced here. Okay, so fourth on our list of non-BCAA EAAs, and this is where Performax Labs throws us a curveball, but we're not totally surprised if you think, like, once again, they're kind of the uplifting brand, and you might disagree, but wait a minute. It's 150 milligrams of tryptophan. Now, tryptophan, we've had some rants for in the past. Do not be afraid of it making you fall asleep. None of that Turkey Day, Thanksgiving nonsense that the mainstream media likes to rat about. They don't know what they're talking about. Tryptophan is an essential amino acid and you do need it, but it helps you boost serotonin levels. And so a lot of times, like, people see this on the label and they freak out, but Performax Labs is a science-based brand. They're not afraid of any of that mainstream media, fake news nonsense. What they want to do is get you feeling good and give you a little bit of a serotonin boost. So the point being here is that tryptophan is going to possibly help the mood, and that's kind of like like I said, that's kind of the deal with Performax Labs. They're kind of that uplifting company, and that's why it's here higher up. Now, a lot of other companies, when they see, they either don't put tryptophan in their amino acids, and that's the non-complete amino acid formula. You see that sometimes because they're afraid people are going to freak out when they see that, or they like put it down at 25 milligrams. Performax Labs said, no way, we want this stuff to feel good. We're going to give you a little bit of serotonin boost, not so much you're going to fall asleep, but we're going to give you a bit of a serotonin boost, and here it is. So I think it's a cool play. And I'm not going to say that when I took it, I ever felt like, ooh, I feel a serotonin blast or anything. But that's kind of the idea of the supplement. But I did enjoy training with it. And if you haven't noticed, I don't have a bottle with me because I kind of drank it all and I was afraid to ask for another tub because I hadn't made this video yet. So anyway, I do enjoy drinking it. I'm not going to say it's because there's a serotonin boost out of tryptophan, but it is a very enjoyable supplement. And that's why we're here. Number 5 out of 6, this is tied with number 6 out of 6, we have histidine. And histidine, dosed at 50 milligrams, not a huge amount or anything, but this is the brother or sister, or whatever you want to call it, of beta-alanine, because beta-alanine helps your body produce more carnosine, which buffers out acid when you're doing endurance-y type activities. Beta-alanine, the studies seem to work between 1 and 4 minutes. What we often don't talk about, though, is in order to get carnosine production up, you also need the amino acid histidine. So it's always good to have that. And once again, it's an essential amino acid. So you got to get it in somewhere, preferably diet, of course. We're going to keep saying that forever. It's all about diet, but we will gladly take it supplementally. And if you don't get it, and if you don't have enough histidine, then your endurance may suffer. So it's always good to have a full spectrum amino acid that provides this kind of stuff. And finally, our dear old friend, number 7 out of 7, methionine at 50 milligrams. Now, methionine is it's the stinky amino acid, and it's often lower on the label like it is here, but we have 50 milligrams, not 25 milligrams. A lot of times you see it down way low at 25 milligrams. Instead, we're going with 50 milligrams of methionine. Now, this contains sulfur, and that's going to give it a little bit of that smell, but also a lot of dieters are sulfur depleted. In fact, a lot of Western dieters in general are sulfur depleted, so we're always happy to get it. Now, the thing is that it may help a little bit with stress relief, and it is eventually converted into L-cysteine and or taurine. Taurine, incredible for endurance. I mean, we typically need at higher doses than what we're going to get from 50 milligrams of this. And cysteine, hugely important for its roles in glutathione production, which is the powerhouse antioxidant. Gotta have cysteine. This is one way of getting it in. So anyway, these sulfur-depleted diets that we have aren't doing us any favors. Methionine is important. It's tough to flavor. I understand that it's tough to make smell good. I understand that, but getting in as much as we can kind of humanly accept is a great thing, because we have a lot of great things happening down the chain and we'll always take it. Don't fear it. And if you see 25 milligrams, tell the company, hey, we want more, make it taste good, make it happen. Finally, okay, so we're done with the amino acids. Finally, we're gonna talk about some of the extra stuff, and that's the electrolytes. I used to make fun of electrolytes, I'll be honest, and we could play up the clip from Idiocracy and all that. And then I started doing diet tracking, and I started going on the keto diet, and I realized, oh crap, I don't get enough potassium. And what I like about this, and this isn't going to be like a world changer, you should still monitor, track, and everything, but coconut water extract, first off, we have a whole gram. Typically we see it at 500 milligrams, got a whole gram of it here, and that's typically heavy for potassium. But on top of that, we have a blend of 200 milligrams of potassium chloride, as well as 100 milligrams of sodium. Now, the reason I like that they included potassium chloride, here's the honest fact is that the potassium powders out there, okay, so let's just back it up a little bit. So we need more potassium. And the FDA, no one even knows how much potassium you need to get. And it really seems to be all about the ratios. And in terms of what the FDA recommends, they want you to somehow keep a low sodium diet but a high potassium diet. Well, there's actually a study that showed that looking at the diets that they recommended and the foods that they had recommended and the potassium and sodium that they had recommended, it was literally impossible for you to achieve the FDA's impossible task of using these diets to get this much potassium. So they recommended like basically a 3-to-2 ratio of potassium to sodium, about 3 grams to 2 grams. And what I do like, and so I think that's a good ratio to start off with. I don't agree with basically any of the food recommendations or the nutritional recommendations of the FDA, but I do believe that when it comes to electrolytes, when it comes to potassium, magnesium, sodium, that it's all about balance. And so when we have all these high sodium foods, and then we have no potassium, bad things happen. And for us athletes, cramps, bad cramps. And we need those ions to transfer energy. We need those ions for all sorts of things. And so I appreciate the fact that Performax Labs went out of their way to add 2 ingredients that add a little bit of potassium. Is it going to be enough? It depends on your diet. If you're like a keto dieter who's not even eating avocados, for instance, then you might need to even supplement a little bit more. I like to use low salt when I'm doing that. But again, it's all about tracking your macros. What I like is that Performax Labs is actually trying to get you to perform to your max. They're actually trying to get you a performance-based supplement. No one else is including potassium because quite honestly, it tastes terrible. They made it happen and I'm happy about that. And then sodium is kind of the same deal. If we get sodium deficient, and this whole low sodium nonsense is based off a whole crappy bunch of science from decades ago. It doesn't work. It's not humanly feasible. Sodium is good as well. But still, keeping sodium and potassium in line is a challenge in today's society, unless you either go out of your way to do it or you're just eating crap loads of beef, which might be a good solution for this whole thing anyway. Anyway, this is Mike Roberto with PricePlow.com. I would like you to check out PricePlow.com/Performax-Labs because we have all their products written up and we are huge. Let me be honest. I mean, sponsorship or not, we're huge fans of this. That StimMax product, if you want a high stimulant product, it's amazing. Their Nootropic Max is the best, to me, the best nootropic energy pill that's on the market. That stuff feels so good. And this is finally, Performax Labs finally has a free-form amino acid supplement that they can put their stamp on with science. And I'm a huge fan. We'll always want more. We're always gonna want more amino acids. We're always gonna want more of this and more of that. But I'm happy that they made it happen. Now, if you're looking for the gain side of things, then you'll want to check out IntraMax. Now, it's November of 2018, and I will say that they are in a process of reformulation, but on PricePlow.com, we still have a lot of stores out there that are listing the old IntraMax formula that has the creatine. I believe that they're reformulating, and so you're going to have to stay tuned. Sign up for the alerts on PricePlow.com/Performax Labs, where we cite all the studies that we're talking about to show that, hey, this isn't just nonsense. We do want more than just the regular branch chains, and if you're a dieter, carnitine's great. I'm a huge fan of HICA, and I want my potassium, and I got it here. So thank you, Performax Labs, and thank you to all for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for the notifications, and whatever else you got to do to see PricePlow.com more often. And I don't know if I have any other calls to action besides just checking out EAmino Max. Thanks.
Welcome to PricePlow.